it, started a new one. Okay, so we said flying things. I'll count flying insects, that works. But they have to fly. So I guess limited flying is okay. Cog, maybe might want. Okay. Rules of the game are we'll only speak Tlingit. We'll try to only speak Tlingits. You can certainly use any Tlingit interjections you've learned. And then we'll try not to repeat. So if somebody has said something that is off the table. So we're thinking about flying things, and this just helps move it more sort of on the spot, sort of memorizing, we can look this stuff up. And then it all to sort of think about these categories of different things and the names, these things that they've been called. There's huge stories with a few of these flying guys in Tlingit. So if you repeat one, then we'll just say "Yeya waka," as in somebody has said it. Try and speak loudly so that the phone and the internet can hear you. Again, we're thinking we're going to try and name as many as we can. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Mm-hmm. Okay. 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 Wak. Tanteich.
Robin.
Okay, that's shuch.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Quick. Thunderbird.
Heat.
Does that count?
Khonach. The gitgiya. Okay. Tanteich. Big or little? A big one or a little one?
A little one.
Up. Okay. Okay.
Chunkies. Kuch. No, douche.
Douche.
Okay.
Yeah, wak.
Ukraine.
Yeah. Yeah, away.
Chicken.
Tlingit curry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
خاصك أجلسة. Yeah, wak. Okay. Tanteich. Ish. We've been, this is round 3.
Oh
We've
dear.
been doing birds. So you can go ahead and try it, and I'll let you know if you said it right.
Kaduk.
Sige, anak ka.
Kaduk.
You okay? Alright. Kelp. Oh. Tanteich. Are you there? Yes, Uchta.
Hunka. Is that
Oh.
grosbeak?
I don't know that one. That's good. Yes. We've been doing bird names from like round 4, so.
I can only think of the obvious ones.
We could try it.
Digit Gia.
I said that one.
Okay. I don't know, I passed.
Okay. Okay. Sukan. Yes, Uchta.
I don't know if it's right. Hin Kagahi for loon.
Yeah, okay. Kindachune, is that? I put the kin at the. Could use the same one as the names. Askaturkaike. Yeltuchta.
Kitladi.
Oh, okay. Huh. Okay. Get away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have that one. Let's go.
Southern dialect.
It's awesome. Tisk is the big They got another name for it. Each claw, got Alex?
Heish.
Is that Thunderbird?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would grab that one.
Ya kutsi geyi tsatsi.
The two ach. Where'd that one?
Hoot.
Round 5? Round 5, round 6? Okay, we'll open it up. Anybody? Nukt. Yeah, we had that one. Chig. What would the Kenyao? What do we name? What was called that? Oh. Anything else? Chig. Oh, yeah, that's right. Ask on. The word for green. Ask on shot. Hintakian de Hingao. Doesn't fly. Flies through the water. Penguin. I think we had that one. Kunakuke. Echtakun Kedushu. Naskadushu. Jinka Jinka Kutlev. We had it over 60. 5 rounds, I think, with everybody, or at least 4 so far. Ukecha echa, finish cheese. Kok. Get away. Okay. Jeez. Sloppy. We didn't get Yates to the last round. Biggest one of them all. Qanook. Oh. What's that one? It always goes like this on the rocks. Asadu sabkekach inachkla. Oh. Cormorant. All right. Sheesh. That's fun. So let's open to this page. 76 for me. Might be 74 for you. We're going to burn through some nouns that we haven't covered. Then we're going to move. This is our transition into talking about the weather. Here we go. All right, I'll give you guys a minute to get ready. When we move into weather, we're going to really start looking at beginning to conjugate verbs for when they sort of occur. Although for Tlingit, time is generally less important than the actual event of the verb itself. So this is page 76. And if you don't have, you might just look on here. All right, I'll say it. And then, you know, so we did the sound practice and then the lessons, and the lessons are introducing some concepts, but they're also introducing a whole set of words, and these words are sort of introducing some of the sneakier sounds as we go along. So by the time we've finished with this lesson, we've done all the hard sounds, what people say are the hard sounds. One time I was teaching like these preschoolers, I was like, and this was really hard, and I said it, and they all just said it. I'm like, it's not hard at all. Okay. Sleuth. Sleuth. Glade. Glade. Cake. Cake. Ook. Ook. So again, there seems to be two sort of varieties of this, at least of this pinched L, where you're sort of, generally you're squishing the tongue and you're pushing sound out the corners of your mouth. So the softer variety, which I usually hear when I go to Sitka, I hear a lot of people make that sound. It would go, ook. So that's what it sounds like. It's sort of like you're building up this pocket of air, and then you're releasing it as you squish your tongue. The second one is sort of the ringing variety, which would go, ook, ook. So that one goes more like to drag it out. And then, you know, I think Shkugate wrote me a comment a while ago. It seems to be like one side or the other. For me, it's when I do that one, it's a left side of the mouth thing. I don't know. For some people, it's the same. That's like I had to think about it to try and get it to go this. Like it won't go. So it's just kind of up to you how you want to make that sound as you practice it and as you listen to more. And generally, listen to speakers in the region that you're from, and then copy that. E. E. So the pinched L and the pinched TL, the L goes, and the TL goes. So it's more of a forceful, mostly out the front of the mouth instead of the sides. When we talk about loan words, but something that's really interesting to me is like giveaway words, I guess you call it. So used to be a little crabapple, which grows in this area. But then as sort of apples arrive with newcomers, the name for crabapple gets given to that. And then we would call crabapple Tlingit. So it's called a Tlingit apple. Whereas there's a lot of other things where that would be called Guskikwan or Tlet. So as we try to think of new words, we're trying to think of a word for celery, and we settled on Tlet. So it's, you know, white man's wild yana 8. I don't know what else to call it. Cow parsnip, is that what they call it? And there's ones, these are the ones that I know of. Kag, kuch, shak, kag, kunz. All were given away, and then they became Tlingit kag, Tlingit shaku, Tlingit kunzi, Tlingit kag. That's that one. It's yeah, but it's a certain type of potato, I think, that grows under. I don't even know. A long time ago, it was some kind of root. Well, next week we'll do plants, and then I'll look it up by then. I think it's like some kind of water hemlock or something like that. But I know that there were also potatoes up here as well. So, they're the little fingerling type potatoes. Nora has some. It's really old school, old generation. 20,000-year-old potato generations. Yeah. All right. There is no word really for please in Tlingit. We don't need it. But you can say something like which instead of saying like close the door, it's saying like may you close the door. It sort of softens a command at times, and I guess it sort of works in that area. There's another one, tse, I think. Anyways, I was talking to my daughter. She said, "How do you say please?" I was like, Ekwasaku, Kwan. She says, no, that's boot. They're not the same word. Zi, zi, kuk, kuk, kwan. Let's just do kwan, nak, nak. So there's nak with a not an underlined K, but high tone, and that's medicine. Nak with a high tone and an underlined K, and then there's nak tone underline, and that's rotten wood. Medicine, octopus, rotten wood. There's a few of these where there's like 3 or 4 of them that are just really close together. A taste. A taste. Shake. Shake. Anybody been to Chilkoot Lake? Nobody? You have? Yeah. Been there? So if you're standing on the shore of Chilkoot Lake when you come in with all the millions of tourists, and you come into that lake and you look up on the right-hand side, there's a mountain where the nose fell off of. They called it Raven's Hammer Nose, and it fell off and in the water, and it flooded that whole area. That mountain is called Little Red Snapper. Those are fun. Gooch. Gooch. Quena. Quena. Next page. It's page 80. Khat. Khat. Shanakhwayi. Shanakhwayi. Or if you go to Carcross, they say Shunhua. Shunhua. Duhunch. Duhunch. On. On. Quad. Quad. Nech. Nech. Huh? Nech is a cloudberry, and it's a really different flavor. It's bitter. Yeah, it's bitter. It's got kind of a sour smell almost, whereas Nigun is a really sweet berry. Yeah, usually they're yellow, so I should probably change the picture. Yeah, because I guess it's sort of shaped like it. They seem a little bit bigger, maybe. They tend to grow, I know they grow probably in the interior more than here.
Which one's in the muskeg?
Yeah. Yeah. But they tend to be white and yellow, so I should probably find a yellow one. Atk. Atk. Kudas.
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 Klek. Klek. Dutek. Dutek. That's also an octopus tentacle. Oh, I saw the coolest hat. I have to bring a picture of it. Had this octopus painted on it, and its tentacles went all the way around. That was amazing. Klek. Klek. Dech. Dech. Nutsk. Nutsk. Dachun. Dachun. Kejin. Kejin. Kleidushu. Kleidushu. Dachadushu. Dachadushu. Nutskadushu. Nutskadushu. Gushuk.
Gushak.
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 Jinka.
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 Did I say the Inglorious Bastards thing in here? So like, there's a scene in that movie where like there's posing as Germans, but then he counts like an American because they count differently on their fingers. And so this is the old way of Tlingit counting. I'm pretty sure the only one I saw do this was Cyril George. And I was going to ask him more about it, but then we lost him earlier this spring. But it starts with sort of one hand up with all your fingers sort of pointed upwards. Then you bring the index finger down. You bring the middle finger down. I guess we should say then you bring the teich down. Then the klein, the big finger. Gu comes down. Then one kachechi, the pointer on the outside. And then you're left with your thumb, goosh. And then you close it and you got one fist up, K jin. K is upwards and jin is hand. And clay do shu. So that's one, and what did he say? I always forget. Running to the other side, or?
Like runs up on one.
Yeah, runs up on one. So it's like one and then it's running up. It's not necessarily like 5 and 1, but it's saying like 1 and it's running up to it. And you're counting the same way. 3 is running up to it. And then you get to gushuk. So gush, wushuk. So the thumb is smiling. And then you put 2 hands together and you've got jinka. And that's the old way of counting in Tlingit. And the thing about counting in Tlingit, there's a couple of things to keep in mind. Is when we count in English, you know, we might say 1 people, 2 people, instead of person. So what happens is we pluralize the noun. 1 dog, 3 dogs. In Tlingit, we don't really pluralize that noun. You can pluralize nouns, but when you're counting them, you don't really pluralize it. So you'd say cake, nutsk, cake. So the noun itself doesn't change. If you're not counting them, but you're just saying there's a bunch of them, cake, and it gets a X apostrophe at the end, and that's how you pluralize something. Or if there's just too many to count immediately. So something more than 20, then you'll just throw that in. So it's either I'm not bothering to count it, or there's too many for me to count before I tell you. And that's sort of how numbers work. There's also to say like, so you could say dahin can get added to the end, and that means for something to have for a sequence, right? Nasket dahin ayah nadauk kach kawaf. He knocked on the table 3 times. So that's for something to say how many times something occurs. And then there's nach gets added to the end to say you're counting people. When you count people, it changes. So you say kay nach, dach nach, natski nach, dakuni nach, kijin, and you're counting people. So that's how Tlingit takes care of numbers. Anything beyond 20, you probably just started moving into bunches and stuff like that, a whole bunch or things like that. Okay. Everybody okay? Questions?
The one in the picture, is that the new way of counting? Or like when you're closing your hands, it's the old way, and then this one's the new way?
No, I just couldn't make an illustration. I don't know how to do it. I got to keep going. I need an illustrator so bad. They'd be like, draw 2 hands like this. Because I couldn't find it anywhere. I mean, I guess I could take a picture. I found one like this, and then I found one like this, and then I was able to just sort of cut the fingers and put them together. But that's easier than doing, because now they're changing shape and stuff. If anyone wants to draw that for me? Okay. Okay. So let's step back for a second. Let me see if I can pull this thing up. So a while ago, long time ago, we were looking at a slide like this. So this is talking about how are you doing? So let me just make sure. Tanteich, are you still with us?
Hello?
Okay, just how you doing? You okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Ich tut's klar. You okay?
A, yek e.
Uyek.
Ah, yeah, okay.
Yekega. Oh, okay. So we'll check in. Okay, so shifting gears a little bit, I'll have to include this handout in the next run of this beginning Tlingit workbook. But one thing we did is we did this sort of how you doing thing. So everybody say, wasa iyati.
Wasa iyati.
Wasa iyati.
Wasa iyati.
Wasa iyati.
Wasa iyati.
Then we divided this into sort of 3 categories. One is the good category. Second is the sort of, I don't know, okay, so-so. And also all of the smart alecky response would fall into this category. I'll bring you a handout tomorrow. It just gives you all the good smart aleck responses when somebody asks you how you're doing. I don't know what that means. And then there's the bad, right? So, and we'll just learn, we've learned these 6, but we'll learn them again. So if someone says, what's up, yeti, how you doing? If you're doing really good, you can say, yep, a, yep, a, yep, a. And you could say, chat yep, a. You could say that. But yep, a also just does the job. And this is something that just means it's good. It's good, or good, right? So if something happens, or somebody says something, and you agree with what they're saying, you can say, okay, okay. Now to say I'm happy, ach tu wu sigu, ach tu wu sigu, and then the sort of middle of the row, keshwasa, keshwasa. And you could also say keshwasa ute. And you can also say keshwasa khat ute. So that's just sort of in its complete form, which really technically, like the literal translation of keshwasa khat ute. Anybody know what the literal translation of that would be? That's not how I am, right? And this is one where like when you add up the parts and you just sort of look at this and what this part means and this part means, but when you put them together, you get a cultural definition in this case. So keshwasa would literally mean like say not how, but the way it works is it's okay, right? And that could mean like, and usually it's used a lot of times to imply that it's okay as in it's fine, right? It's fine. So some instances would be if somebody did something pretty minor, right? Like they spilled a glass of water or something, or if they did something and they were sort of apologizing for it, because there's a number of ways to sort of signify mistakes in Tlingit. One way, there's this word that I've heard 3 different ways. One is come, come, come. The other way is cup, cup, cup. And the other way is cup, cup, cup. And that just means whoops, right? Whoops, made a mistake. Not really a big deal, but acknowledging the mistake. There's a big deal one, which I don't have written for you, but it's cha'adeye khatna'u. Cha'adeye khatna'u. Cha'adeye khatna'u. And that's, something's gone wrong. Forgive me. But that's used a lot in formalities as well. Like you could say, if you see there's a speech and there's an old text called, what's it called? because we cherish you, which was a series of speeches at a meeting that really sort of gave birth to celebration. Celebration occurred a year or two after that. And they got together, and there was a series of speeches by elders, but there's a lot of back and forth between Charlie Joseph and I'm forgetting everything today. George Davis, Kitchnach. And they were really going back and forth. And at one point, Charlie Joseph is explaining these dances and these different dancers. And there's a lot of young people in the dance group. And he's saying, forgive them. And then he says, forgive them. If there's any mistakes that they make, it's because of me. So it's a very formal word. But as far as maneuvering in the world in the Tlingit language, we were using it a lot. If we wanted to sort of, because in English, it's really interesting when you're translating stuff and you're learning another language, because people say, how do you say this? And what does that really mean? Right? And there are certain instances where I can't think of, and I should have had an example for it. But sometimes I'm like, well, what does that really mean in English when you say it? So an example would be if you're walking by someone and you say, excuse me. Right? You're saying, I'm right here walking past your face. Right? And so that's a case, I'm coming near you. A lot of times, sometimes you're saying that. But it's all about tone too, right? Because it's, excuse me. And that means you're in my way. Right? So there's a lot that's communicated in language. It's not just about the way the words add up, but it's about tone and about situation. And that's what we see with some of these things. And so we were trying to just like walk past people and would say, and so the elders round us up and they said, you're wearing that phrase out. Like that's for when something really needs to be forgiven, right? I stood up and I gave a speech in Klukwan, and I forgot my father's people. I didn't acknowledge them. That's a big deal. That's when is necessary. I made a mistake in my speech. Usually it's not as big a deal because we're learning and we understand that we're learning. If somebody's in your way and you're trying to get past them, you could say "Ach chikadachnaku," which is get out of my way. That's really what it translates. But it's not rude in Tlingit. I mean, I guess if you could say "Ach chikadachnaku," that's pretty rude. But if you just say "Ach chikadachnaku," that's not rude. And so we always think the languages don't function the same. Like, oh, I know. Someone's like, how do you say bless you in Tlingit? It's like, when somebody sneezes, it says you don't. The only thing I've ever heard was gunachsa. Where did it come out? And so sometimes I'll say, achoo. And I'll say, gunachsa. And I'll say, thank you. She didn't answer my question. Anyways, so this is another one, keshwasa, where, and it depends on the context, right? Someone could say, I forgot to mention you while I was giving my speech. Keshwasa, it's okay, it's fine, right? How are you doing? Keshwasa, I'm okay, I'm fine. Chachataya, chachataya. I'm just me. That one is Pasech Selena Averson. She says that one. I'm just me. That's getting you into the smart alecky sort of world of Tlingit responses. But sometimes it's not anybody's business how you're doing as well. Right? So it's a good sort of safe one to know. Kesh ushke. Kesh ushke. It's bad, right? And this doesn't mean like, this means bad. And this could also be sometimes interpreted as evil, right? Dr. Evil, right? And then, like, here's a good lesson in verb conjugation. So you've got ushke. There's another one, you could say ishke, which would mean you are bad. Like, you are bad. You're talking to someone. You're bad. Because I saw a student one time, and I was like, hey, what's up, CAT? And she said, Kash ishke. Khatke. But it was just a minor mistake. We straightened it out later. I was like, why am I bad? What did I do? And then to be sick. Khat yanik. Khat yanik. So let's, we'll run through all of these one at a time. So the two good ones. Yak-a. Achtuwu sagu. Keshwasa. These are the two okay ones. Chakhataya. And these are the bads. Keshushke. Khat yanik. And then we'll do a whole range of these things as well, so that you can express some basic emotions, right? Happy, sad, lonely, bored, excited. None of your business. That's a good one to know. And then, so let's just go around and just practice one. You know, if you say Keshushke, we're not going to pry into your world. It's just good practice just to get us into this. So we'll send this one. Wasa iyati. 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 Tantech wasa iyati.
Yake.
Yeftuchka wasa iyati.
Achtuwu sigu.
Shugate wasa iyati.
Chakhataya.
Okay. You could say Keshkhataya. If you really want to confuse people. I'm not me. All right, so the same verb, yati, for something to be, or in some cases to be a certain way. And what we're going to find in Tlingit is there's certain verbs that are just, they're all over the place. This yati verb, we're going to see lots of different forms of it. So we've talked a little bit about this. You've got the root, which is ti, which means to be. And then you've got yati. So when you've got the root, there's also a set of what we call classifiers. And you could change the classifier to start sort of changing the way that verb functions. So what happens is you have these 4 groups of classifiers. There's the 0 group. See, I'll have to give you guys this as well. Did I give you guys this thing yet? No, I'm going to have to give it to you. Okay. There's the 0 group. There's the S group. There's the L group. There's the SH group. And every verb is going to have a root and a classifier. Those are part of what we call the stem of the verb. And the classifier changes to talk about how the verb begins to change. So the example with the T is we've already learned yati, wasa iyati, how are you? Right? And then you can respond to that. Or if someone could say, you know what, you're always happy. And you could say, yechat yati, that's how I am. Right? That's how I am. Yechat yati. And then we can see it switches to the S to have a slightly different solution. So in this one, yesh nachat siti. So we've got siti instead of yati. They still mean to be, but siti means to be a member of a group. So what Tlingit does a lot is specifying something, or what we call classifying something. They used to call these extensors, but now they call them classifiers because what they're saying is it changes depending on what the type of action or sort of what the verb is doing. And you'll see this throughout your studies of Tlingit, where you'll see this verb has all these different related forms. It probably started as a 0, and then the next one is an S, the next one would be an L, or maybe an SH. And we'll look at those as we go further along. But the other thing that can happen as you start sort of changing the classifier is you can start stacking things in front of that classifier as well. And these are what we call Ematic Prefixes. And this is the way that Tlingit verbs work, is you've got this core meaning usually right at the end, and then you have a bunch of stuff stacked up in front of it. And that stuff stacked up in front of it is going to talk about maybe the type of motion, or maybe the type of object, or maybe, you know, it's also going to talk about the object and the subject. It's all going to be packed into that little front part of the verb, and as you start stacking things there, they're going to start to sort of interact with each other and create contraction. So what you've got, if you think of the root as 0, that's the 0 spot. Everything to the left of that we call go plus or minus. But everything to the left of that, so the root, which will include the classifier, any subject pronouns, any object pronouns, and any other of these thematic prefixes, which we'll see. If you get more than 3, there will be contraction, and this is how it works. So you'd say sekhan is the verb to love, and you could say chasekhan for I love something. I love him, her, or it. Chasekhan Tlingit yuchatangi. I love Tlingit language. But if you say chasekhan, you, I, classifier, love, you get ichsekhan. So things begin to contract. And it's actually, there's a lot of different options, but there's rules behind it, and you start to sort of learn those. You learn the cha, which is the first person subject, me. That's one of the first ones to contract. It's one of the most likely. So coming to this, when we see yeti, and a lot of times, yeah, when we break it down, we write it as a Y with these 2 dots over it. What that means is there's an old sound in Tlingit which is not in the language anymore. And it's this sound. We call it the gamma. Wasagnyati. Right? And that's probably what it used to sound like a long time ago. And what happens is now it's shifted to a Y. Yeah, it's become ya. Yeti. But this particular sound, when there was a O, when there was a U or a double O, we call rounded vowels. Because if you pay attention to what your mouth is doing, and you go or ooh, you purse your lips. And this is important because it's called rounding. Ooh. And whenever you have that, you have and then you've got the little Y with the 2 dots after it, it'll change to a double U. So, and this used to be the way it was for a lot of Tlingit. So we know the term yedi. What does yedi mean in English? Child, right? So you'd say, do yedi. How would you translate that? His or her child. A long time ago, you used to say, do wadi. And that's how you used to say it, but people don't do that anymore. And it's just language, language changes. Language changing is natural, and there's some that you might want to control. There's other things you might not want to control. And there's debates about this. I don't know if we're going to go back to saying do wadi, do wakuski. I don't think so. But I don't think you lose necessarily anything in the language. If you're losing cultural concepts and stuff, that's more important to me than sound shift as the language goes. English doesn't sound the same as it did 100 years ago. Not even close. If you just jumped into your machine and you went back 100 years, you'd have a very different sounding language. Different set of words, and then just a different sort of way that the language is used.
How long ago was that change?
It was probably at the time of contact. But it's hard to say at the time of contact. Maybe it was already shifting, right? And there was just certain sounds that just sort of fell out of Tlingit, and that's one of them. The other thing is with loss of the Tungus dialect, that probably also created a change for the Tlingit language as well. Tungus is probably the first form of Tlingit. And we know that because linguists who are studying Tlingit now can see certain things in the language that don't make any sense unless the rules come from Tungus. because there's some things in Tongass Tlingit that we don't do in Northern Tlingit, Southern Tlingit. And mostly has to do with tone and other things. But if you go back to Tongass, you'll see why it sort of takes its rules from Tongass. So, but and they're interesting things to look at in Tlingit and to think about how those things are shifting. The other thing, a lot of people talk about this old style of Tlingit, this really fluid style of Tlingit, and that's something worth sort of exploring as well. They say, oh yeah, they speak this real old Tlingit, and these words that you don't necessarily hear that much anymore. And some of them are just little linking words as well. We were with a group of elders, and they were saying, Satqrega, and we really talk it out to figure out how they would translate that. And it's like, at long last, something. So you get Satqrega, finally you've gotten here, right? Like it took somebody a long time to do something. Khati was another one. I was talking with some elders earlier. It was like, it's a wonder how that happened. So there are these sort of adverb type of things where they modify the verb a little bit. And those things are really interesting. And the other things to really pay attention to is metaphors and how they really function in the language. And coming up with new metaphors and things like that. Because those are things that get really endangered in the language. And who you're supposed to be speaking to and what you're supposed to be speaking about in different cultural situations. I think that's really been drifting. It drifted out of our hands. So when you see like these elders talking, they'll say, there's a speech by Cyril George where he says, in 1922, when I was born, they already knew it was beginning to drift out of our hands, our language and our culture. And so the way that metaphor functions is really powerful in Tlingit. So this will get us to tomorrow, and we'll start with the weather and wasa. So wasa yati becomes wasa tuwati. So the verb isn't, the only thing that's changing on the verb is we're adding k at the front, and it's a little thematic prefix which means weather. Although there's two other k, and they conveniently appear in the exact same spot in the verb. But this one, we'll just focus on this one. It means weather. So we're going to start talking about weather. How's the weather? How was the weather? How will the weather be? These types of things. All right. Chish. Ooch. Hiya.
Gonna see.
You can't.